everyone, and welcome to First Things First. I'm Jenna Wolfe. That is the Hall of Famer, Cris Carter. That is Nick Wright. I am positive it is a Thursday. We had baseball last night. We had some good basketball last night. Why are you looking at me like that?
You're positive it was a Thursday.
Yeah.
Jay Wright's here on Friday.
Okay, don't do that.
Jay Wright Friday. We had that on the schedule.
Yeah,
but
no.
Jay Wright's here.
Jay Wright is here today. We got a whole host. We got a bevy of wonderful people coming up. LeBron James and the Lakers finally get a win. Amari Cooper has officially arrived in Dallas. But we start in Boston, Game 2 of the World Series, where the Red Sox were looking to take a 2-0 lead over the Dodgers. And here we go. It was drama, and here comes that drama. They sent David Price to the hill, bottom 2, and Ian Kinsler singles to left to bring in the first run of the game, and the Red Sox are up 1-0. Let's jump to the 4th. We are tied at 1. Nick Sky, Yasiel Puig with a single to center. That'll bring home a Dodger. And L.A. takes the 1-run lead. Price not thrilled, but he does go on to strike out Austin Barnes. Price goes 6 innings, gives up just 3 hits, 2 earned runs. Bottom 5 now, bases juiced. Game tied at 2. J.D. Martinez right there will rip a single to right. Red Sox will go up 4-2. Boston will hold on to win by that same score. They take a 2-0 World Series lead. Here's the winning pitcher, David Price, after the game.
David, back-to-back wins in the postseason. You had that difficult 4th. They took a 2-1 lead. How did you regroup?
Just continue to make pitches. I made a lot of pitches in that 4th inning. They had some really good at-bats, fouled off some good pitches, put some good swings on balls, and these guys picked me up just like they have all year long. So that was huge.
You said in Game 4 of the ALCS, warming up in the bullpen, you found something. Since then, 2 brilliant performances. What has changed?
I have. It's just I take a lot of pride in being able to evolve from pitch to pitch or day to day or game to game, whatever it is. Just being able to make adjustments on the fly, and it's paid off.
You've been through a lot in the postseason. You had the crowd on your side tonight. How gratifying is this moment for you?
It feels good. It definitely feels good. But like I said before this playoffs happened, I'd rather go winless and we win a World Series and me go 4-5-0 and we lose. So we're playing good baseball right now. That's a very good team over there. So we need to go to LA and not make it come back to Boston.
Speaking of winless, David Price had gone 0-9 in his first 10 postseason starts before taking the mound last night, so great win for him. Nick, what do you think was the key to Boston winning Game 2 against the Dodgers?
Listen, I'm happy for David Price because it's now 2 starts in a row that he's pitched well, and he was excellent at home this whole entire season. And then we saw in the beginning of the postseason, once again, Game 2 of the ALDS. We saw, David Price, how's this going to go for him? And since then, he's turned it around well. But to me, there were 2 keys to the game. One on the Dodgers side and one on the Dodgers managerial side. On the Dodgers offense side, 16 straight retired batters to end the game. That's the most consecutive retired batters to end a game in a World Series since Don Larsen's perfect game.
Wow.
Wait, that was 27 up, 27 down. This was 16 up, 16 down in the game. And then on the managerial side, and I hate to be this guy, but for the second straight game in a high leverage spot, Dave Roberts goes to Ryan Madson. Yep. Again, he goes to Ryan Madson. In Game 1, it's 3-3, bottom 5, men on base. You pull Kershaw, Madson for 4-pitch walk, and all of a sudden, a couple batters later, it's 5-3. He allows both of his inherited runners to score. Last night, Dodgers have a 2-1 lead, bases loaded, and you go to Ryan Madson. 5-pitch walk, now it's a tie game, and then a single. He allowed all his inherited runners to score. He's got the most misleading 0.0 ERA anyone's ever had in a World Series because he's allowed 5 of 5 inherited runners to score. So Madsen comes in, gives up the lead C, and then the bats don't get on base again the rest of the game, that's a recipe to fall down 0-2 in the World Series.
Yeah, that's a huge part of the story. David Price, the ability to be able to back up the one performance that he had at home. I think it was really important for them to get the win and for him to have the confidence at home. You talked about, Jenna, how bad he was in the playoffs. He was excellent in his last start, followed it up with another good start. And the thing you talk about, clutch, Mattson not being clutch, between Price getting these last 2 wins, pitching the way he did, J.D. Martinez batting the way he did in clutch. That money that they spent on these 2 guys, when you talk about all these high salaries in baseball, last night the Red Sox, 2 guys that they invested a lot of money in, they came through in the clutch because Mattson on the mound, J.D.'s able to get the hit, not a huge hit, but he's able to put the bat on the ball, put it in play, and that was the decisive, that was the margin of victory there. So Red Sox, 2 of their guys coming through. You talking about the manager. The manager makes a decision. The guy doesn't come through for him in Mattson. It makes the manager look bad.
Dave Roberts was already a Red Sox legend as a player. Now he's going to be a Red Sox legend as a Dodgers manager in the way he didn't want to be.
To play clutch ball in the World Series is so difficult. The Red Sox scored all their runs with 2 guys on, which is impressive. With two outs, which is so impressive. Okay, so now the series moves to L.A. What do we expect? Can they get back into the series?
Well, I want to stay on your 2-out point for a moment. The Red Sox have scored 68 runs this postseason. 36 have come with 2 outs.
That's amazing.
In this series, they've scored 12 runs. 9 have come with 2 outs. Their clutch hitting has been spectacular. They were one of the best offenses of the last decade in the regular season, but that was in all situations. In the playoffs, it has been clutch hitting. Now, typically, to answer your question, Jenna, we would say, all right, so now the series goes back to L.A. or goes to L.A., the advantage goes to the Dodgers. But how many road games have the Red Sox lost this playoff, see?
None.
0. They're undefeated on the road in the postseason, so I don't know how much of an advantage that holds. I thought the Dodgers had to split the first 2 in Fenway to have a realistic chance to win the series like I thought they would. Falling down 0-2, it's not over. I understand, like, the Red Sox just held serve, so to speak, but it doesn't bode well for them.
Yeah, and we can't forget how close these were. They are a ball falling in, catching a foul ball to start the game, potentially to stop that momentum. Last night, getting a guy out. I mean, Mattson comes in, he's not even close. So it wasn't as if that was a great at-bat. He let the batter off the hook because he couldn't even get close. So for me, I believe this series is a lot closer than the 2-0. So I believe the Dodgers can get right back into it back in Los Angeles.
And the Dodgers have to be happy with their pitching yesterday. Hyun-Jin Ryu, pitched fine. And then after Mattson, their guys did a great job. You can't go 5+ innings and not have a single base runner. No. Like, that is, it's not like they were down 10-1, okay, we're just
They were trying to prevent the storyline from game number 1 where they left all those. They were 1-7 with runners in scoring position. So, hey, we're just not even going to get them in scoring
have
position.
Nobody on base. That's one way to go about it, I suppose.
Last 10 teams to win the first 2 games of the World Series have gone on to win it all. So, Red Sox hoping.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, here you can just you can have
Jenna.
that card right there. Got to take a break. Coming up, let's talk some Laker basketball. How did LeBron feel after his first Lakers win? Hear from the King himself next on First Things First. All right, moving on. LeBron James and the Lakers looking for their first win of the season, taking on the Suns and taking out the Suns. The King finished with 19 points, 10 assists, 7 rebounds, and LeBron's supporting cast helped out 6 players in double figures, 7 including LeBron. Lakers exploded for a 44-point second quarter. They win big 131-113. Here is LeBron James in his first win in the purple and gold.
It feels good for us to know what we've been doing over the training camp in these first few games to continue to get better. I think we've gotten better tonight, and we want to try to continue that going forward.
What was the difference in the second quarter that helped you guys pull away?
We got defensive stops. We didn't foul. We kept guys off the free throw line. That's something we've been talking about for a long time, and then we shared the ball offensively.
All right, so the Lakers finally get their first win. Nick, did we learn anything about LeBron and the Lakers after they beat the Suns?
Not substantially, no. We would have learned a lot if they lost. If they lost, it would have been, through only 4 games, time to press a bit of a panic button because the Suns are not a good team. The Suns got a bunch of young guys they're playing to try to figure out who their future is, what their future is. This is a game you can't lose if you have LeBron James on your team, even with no Ingram and no Rondo. We did learn they adjusted the starting lineup in the way that I said I thought they would and thought they should. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, you can go to the bench. Josh Hart, you can go to the starting lineup. And the other thing we learned in the first half was took LeBron about 10 quarters this year to get the engine fully revving. Game 1, okay. Game 2, not great. First half of Game 3, bad. And then second half of Game 3 against the Spurs to the first half last night. Last night in the first half, 17-7-7. That gave him his last 4 quarters of basketball a combined line of 45, 10, and 17. And that's what powered them in the comeback against the Spurs and powered them to a 20-point lead in the first half last night. This game was over at halftime. LeBron played some in the third quarter, none in the fourth. The Lakers got some rest, which they're going to need because they play tonight against an undefeated Nuggets team.
Yeah, I like the fact that they did change the lineup. Josh Hart, they should give him a chance to try to start. He gives them a little bit different athleticism. They give him another guy that cut to the bucket compared to KPC, what he's going to be able to do. And he just has not played well as a starter. He has not been the three-point shooter that we thought he was going to be. And with them having lack of shooters, if he's not going to be special doing that, you have to try to go about it a different way. So I did like that. Didn't like how they played defense, giving up 30 points in that first quarter, a lot better in that second quarter. When they get against better competition, I think you'll be able to evaluate them more. We knew they had to win this game. Like we would have opened up the show if they had lost this game.
When it comes to defense, is that just an effort thing? Is that something that comes with when they need to play good defense? Why are they struggling so much on that side?
All right, so listen, first of all, this is NFL style, got to adjust your eyes. Through a week of the NBA season, I don't know what good defense is. I don't know who's playing it outside of Denver. Like right now, we are record-breaking pace as far as points scored. Everyone is playing up and down the court. So
but there's an explanation for that. There's a reason for that. It's because the NBA rules, they're allowing people, what they say is they want more movement.
Freedom of movement.
Freedom of movement. So the hand checking, the grabbing jersey, the clutching, all these things have been called. That's why the players have said they don't know what type of refereeing they're going to see moving forward, which has led to outburst in point scoring, just like the NFL.
So it's two things. It is the rules, which is, so the more fouls called, more free throws, that leads to more points. But then also the butterfly effect of that is teams get in foul trouble, so they play softer defense. They don't want to send you to the line. You're in the bonus, and you have a free way to the hoop. The other thing is how many teams, almost the entire league is playing over 100 possessions per game. Like they're running up and down the court. They're playing the fastest pace we've seen in the NBA since the year Oscar averaged the triple-double when it was super inflated pace numbers. So when you have more possessions, like allowing 113, it's almost like last year allowing 103, so we have to adjust it.
Is that sustainable? Because LeBron James is not going to keep up that pace.
Well, it's the whole league right
games.
now. It's not just the Lakers. The Lakers were a fast team last year. It's the whole league. So I'm saying that. Now, with that said, even compared to the rest of the league, the Lakers have been a bad defensive team. I don't think it's effort. I think right now it's a lack of continuity. Like the best defensive teams,
not trusting,
are teams that have been together for a long time, teams that know each other. You got to move as one. The Lakers are not. They are not that right now, and I feel like there's almost a mentality when you play at that pace, and I think it's right now permeating the whole league, which is if we give up a bucket, we're going to run right back down and get it. And when you play slow, and it feels like, man, if we get down 6, it's a big deal. That's not the case. So it's all of those factors coming into one, and the most important part of your defense is going to be rim protection. JaVale McGee's not a great rim protector, and he's the only center they got. So, like, there's a lot of reasons they're going to be bad defensively, at least for the time being.
Can they sustain it? I think it's going to be tricky once we get to the playoffs. What we've seen, Jenna, is up and down during the regular season. In the playoffs, the referees, they slow it down. It becomes more physical. So I think it is a great question is, will we see this after the All-Star break and into the playoffs? This is something that we have to continue to watch.
But if they're not better, if they need to have their best defensive game of the season tonight. They're playing a team, if it'll be on national television, I encourage people to stay up late and watch it. If you don't watch the Nuggets a lot, it's not just your guy Gary Harris, Jamal Murray. They have one of the most skilled big men in basketball, Nikola Jokic. He passes he's a better passing version of Draymond offensively, right? He's the reason I say Draymond is Draymond can play the center and get a double-digit assist game. He is one of the most skilled offensive big men in the league, if not the most skilled offensive big man outside of Anthony Davis. The Nuggets will eat you alive if you're not sound defensively. Like, they are going to be an excellent offense throughout the year, and they're going to be able to run their offense through their big man. If the Lakers don't have their best defensive game of the year tonight, they'll lose to the Nuggets and fall to 1-4.
What changes with this team when Rondo and Ingram get back?
They're going to be spitting on people. Rondo, he said, excuse me.
Well, let me ask you this, see? Kuzma goes to the bench, right? And I know you don't think...
Yeah, I just think the growing pains continue because they're trying to find themselves, which they're going to be able to do absent of these other two players. And then when you come back, do you put Rondo back into the lineup? If I think Lonzo Ball's healthy, I bring Rondo off the bench and I stay with Josh Hart. I got a problem with Ingram and Kuzma, though, because I just believe Kuz, for longer term with this roster, is better suited. But they've got a lot invested in Ingram, and he's going to get those minutes back.
Ingram's going to get those minutes back. You're not going to have Lonzo. The Lakers will play very few minutes all year with Lonzo and Rondo on the court at the same time because it's too much of a redundant skill set, not enough shooting. The thing to watch with Rondo is what we've seen over these last 6 quarters of basketball for the Lakers is slowly but surely, why don't we run some more high pick and roll with LeBron? Why don't we let LeBron dictate the offense? And if that's the case, then Rondo's got no utility on the team. Rondo is not on the team to not have the ball in his hands. He's on the team to run the offense. So I'm curious, once Rondo comes back, are we going to see more of that style of offense? Now, they've got another game without Rondo and 2 more games without Ingram.
All right, let's take a break. Get to some football on the other side. Coming up, how quickly can Amari Cooper be a factor with the Cowboys? Next, first things first. Welcome back. Thursday Night Football returns tonight as Deshaun Watson and the Texans take on the Miami Dolphins. It all starts at 7:30 Eastern on Fox, NFL Network, and streaming on Prime Video. Time now for us to go viral. Craig Kimbrel took care of business last night, sitting the Dodgers down 1-2-3 in the 9th. Pre-game, Kimbrel had this hilarious moment with Frank Thomas. Take a listen.
Frank, this is for you.
Hey, Frank, I'd like to know what size jacket you wear because, you know, your shoulders are so big, you know, still so long after you got done playing. I need to know what size you wear.
For one of the game's greatest closer. I'm a 2XL tall. 2XL tall.
I'm 2X.
But if it's designer or anything else, it's like a 54 XLT. You know, that's basically it. 54.
2 times 2X.
Is that answering the question, or is Frank begging Kimbrel to pay for a new coat?
Well,
That's what I think it is.
Sound like you like my coat. I'll take a brown
Frank
one like
is a
this, too.
9X.
Yeah.
I'll take a brown one.
9X.
Can the guy pitch in the World Series first, Frank?
Frank, listen, we saw Frank and his lovely family eating breakfast at the All-Star game, right? Is that what it was?
Yes, yeah, in D.C.
In a hotel. Frank is a lot of things. A 2X is not one. Come on, man.
He's doing them commercials and everything.
Yeah, see, I'm a large. You at least used to be an XL. Now, I know you're down to your playing weight, but if you're 6'2", I feel like you're still probably XL. There ain't no way Frank's just 1X bigger than you. No
Frank's
chance.
a big dude, man. Frank's a big dude. You know?
And how do you go from I'm a double X, but if it's custom, I'm a 54 tall? Man.
I'd rather buy him a hat than a coat. His head's smaller than his shoulders.
Time now for stories to start your morning, sponsored by Gillette Clear Gel. Patriots running back Sony Michel missed practice Wednesday with a knee injury. He's expected to miss a week or two, while Rob Gronkowski was also absent with a back injury, but could suit up Monday night against the Bills. Chris, how worried should the Patriots be about these injuries?
Oh, you should be concerned. And Nick brought it to my attention. Hey, Chris, Gronk, man, is back. And then he mentioned
Mike Lombardi, a guy once upon a time I did a podcast with. Now he works at different places. But he said, how much football does Gronk have left? He said that it looks like Gronk is slowing down.
He thought he saw something there.
He said he thought he saw that Gronk was slowing down.
And then, like me, I made a little joke about it. Oh, I don't know what he's watching and everything. But Mike Lombardi, I believe, is on to something. When you start not showing up, a late scratch, back spasm, that lets you know something is wrong with that back.
And you know Gronk wants to play because he's got those
incentives.
He's got $3.3 million worth of incentives tied to playing time, tied to being on the active roster, and tied to production. The more games he misses, the almost impossible to hit those numbers.
I have the same concern for Sony Michel. Jenna, he's had a bad knee through college.
All right, moving on to basketball. Jazz took down the Rockets 100-89 last night behind Donovan Mitchell's 38 points. Rockets fall to 1-3, but wait, there's more. James Harden had to leave early with a hamstring injury. Nick, how concerned are you with the Rockets' slow start?
I'm more concerned with Harden's hamstring. Listen, the Rockets, 0-2 at home, 1-3, but I didn't expect them to win last night without Chris Paul. Like, the Jazz are an excellent basketball team.
Yes.
I believe one of the 6 best teams in the NBA. But Harden to tweak a hamstring early in the year, that's something to watch because those soft tissue injuries can plague you. And the Rockets do not have the depth necessary to lose Paul or Harden for an extended period.
You remember the season after the Warriors had the 73 wins and they didn't win the championship? I believe that the Rockets could have that same theme. We're not going to be as good in the regular season. Let's get to the postseason healthy. We believe we're as good as Golden State, which they showed last year, outplaying them through 6 games, but they need to keep everyone healthy. So I think that might be the philosophy. It's not going to be about record for the Rockets.
Be extra cautious?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, Sixers
I talked
and
to the
Bucks
general
now.
manager. He's one of my sources.
No.
Giannis Antetokounmpo dropping an impressive 32 points, 18 rebounds, 10 assists, triple-double. Milwaukee beating up on Philly. They improved to 4-0 for the first time since 2001. Nick, how good did the Greek Freak look last night?
He looked like the guy I thought he was going to be this year. Got himself a coach. Is fully and formally developing his game. How about this as an underrated stat of the season? Giannis's rebounds through 4 games, 18, 15, 15, 18.
Yes.
I mean, dude's averaging 16.5 rebounds a game. 29, 17, and 7 is essentially what he's averaged through 4 games. They're undefeated. He's been outstanding. No, I mean, I'm not surprised by Giannis. I am impressed by Giannis.
Yeah, I've learned something from Nick Wright. At one point in this guy's career, he's going to be the best player in the world, and you're starting to see that early this season. The new coach, you can see him trying to evolve his game, doing some things more physical, getting on the glass. His range is still going to take some time to be patient with, but outstanding talent that just continues to evolve
He's at
night
least
after
shooting
night.
threes this year. Now, he's only made 1, but he's at least shooting them, which means he must be making them in practice, and teams are going to have to at least give cursory pressure to him on those, which is what's allowing him to cut through the lane with such.
So we got like 2 years before we start seeing Ben Simmons even shoot him.
Well, no, hopefully by about mid-season.
Why you stuttering?
All right, let's finish this up with the Warriors. Steph Curry dropping in a cool 51 points on 11 three-pointers in 3 quarters of play, leading the Warriors to the 144-122 win. Here's Kevin Durant on Curry's chances to win his 3rd MVP this season.
I think the MVP nowadays is the up-and-coming star, the NBA award, I think. But, you know, it's got to take somebody to do something like this tonight to kind of break through and change that narrative. And, you know, players that have been in the league for a while, that have won a couple MVPs, you know, I'm sure the voters tend to overlook them, not, you know, maliciously, but it's just the fact that they're looking for the next player. But, you know, you got to wake them up with games like that.
Nick, I think it's twofold. I think it's what Kevin Durant said, and I think the other part of it is Steph Curry plays for the best team in the league, and what some people would call the most hated team in the league because they're so stacked. And because of that, I think people forget to look at the details, to watch a guy like Steph Curry, who's just fun to watch, who enjoys the game, who has fun while he's playing the game, who doesn't have a million, feet of whatever baggage that comes along with it. And I think because of that, we lose sight of the fact that he very well could be an MVP candidate again this year.
Well, right now he is. I mean, Steph has won 2 MVPs. One of them, there's no question he deserved. The year they won 73 games. The other one was very close the year before that, but he hadn't deserved an MVP. It's not like Steph's been snubbed on any MVPs. Now, in order for him to win an MVP...
No, but his overall... his likability, because the team he plays on, and kind of the shine that was on his career. Because you even pointed this out. Man, it was refreshing to see him warming up before the game. Like any kid, you don't have to be 6'6", 6'8". You don't have to be able to. His skill level and how people love to see that, it's changed the NBA. You love it.
No doubt. Listen, but the Steph's ability, the curve for him to win MVPs got a lot steeper when Durant came there. Not just because of higher expectations for the Warriors, not just because of what Durant's talking about there, but because his numbers were going to go down. They did go down. Now, this year, he's been awesome. He or Giannis or Kawhi. Those have been your three best players in the league so far this year. Those three guys, they have been the most impactful on winning. Their teams have lost a combined one game. Those have been your three best guys. You can make a case for Steph, make a case for those other two guys. But Durant's comments about it's the up-and-coming MVP award, okay, maybe. That's how Durant won his, by the way, because we were sick of LeBron winning his, and Durant had that great year. But you can win an MVP as an established player. Harden wasn't some up-and-coming guy. He had finished second 2 of the previous 3 years before he won his. It's hard for the Warriors to win him, though.
I think Durant might be talking about why LeBron doesn't win. Because I believe Kevin Durant has a lot of respect for LeBron, and one time there he mentioned that he was the best player. I believe KD thinks LeBron's the best player, and if the way he described it as up and coming compared to him and LeBron, then what he was saying would be correct.
Sure. And listen, Steph is not disqualified from winning this award. He is going to have performances like this because people do take the Warriors for granted. They do play out on the West Coast, which are late games, as people who are now staying up to watch LeBron are realizing each and every night. But the other aspect of it is you've got to decide what's important to you. Are regular season awards, regular season records, home court advantage, is that important to you? The year Russ won it, it was important to him.
Yes.
He wanted that triple-double record. He wanted to average the triple-double.
And did he play differently because of it?
Well, no, he just had the ball in his hands more. Russ is an outlier because Russ always plays at that level. Harden last year, the Rockets, it was important they get to 65 wins. If the Warriors have the best record in the league, Steph's going to be eligible. It's hard to give any of those guys league-wide MVP when they have the most talent and other teams finish with a better record.
He does look like he's on a mission, though. He looks like he's on the mission to be able to send a message. The last 2 seasons, entering the regular season, he entered a little banged up from a long off season and had a couple knee problems that he started the season.
Coming in healthy this year.
Yes.
And Jenna, I think Kevin Durant's very interesting. He was the one talking there because I think Steph's maybe internal motivation he won't talk about has to do with Durant and the fact that Durant it just became the given. Oh, he's the second best player in the world. Kevin Durant is. He's the two-time finals MVP. He's the engine that has pushed them through these last 2 championships. There is a strong argument to be made that Steph is still the second best player in the world, as he was before Durant got there. And he has gotten passed in that hierarchy. Some people have Anthony Davis jumped over him. Last year, people had Harden jumped over him. So I think Steph has a bit of a chip on his shoulder in that regard. Is he going to become one of your guys?
I'm afraid he might.
I would, Jenna, that would delight me.
Okay.
That would delight me.
Really?
Yes, because you need to actually have one of your guys be good at their sport.
Okay.
As opposed to all your other Case Keenum nonsense.
Alex Smith.
Yeah, exactly. So you're going to pick an actual good player to root for.
I am on the Steph Curry bandwagon.
You're a big fan of Steph's, it would appear.
I like the name. Amari Cooper has officially touched down in Dallas. The Cowboys' newest receiver had his first official team practice yesterday. Next step, building chemistry with Dak Prescott during the team's bye week. Step after that, win all the games and make it to the Super Bowl. Baby steps. Cooper, just traded from the Raiders, immediately becomes the Cowboys' #1 receiver.
It's a fresh start. This is a good team. I'm just giving them something to build on, I guess you can say. And it's America's team. Who wouldn't be excited? I have to stack the days together, obviously, learn the system and just be ready to go out there when my name is called. All the other stuff will come.
Let me tell you guys at home a little something about Cris Carter. We ran a little 3 seconds of video of Amari Cooper running some route. I don't know what.
At practice?
Yeah, at practice. And Nick and I kind of looked at. Did you see what he just ran?
Did you see the route he ran? I just told him no.
Nope.
I was like, no, I didn't actually.
You're so keyed in. Tell us what you saw.
And it's especially when you've taught someone something, and there's certain principles to the routes that I've tried to teach him, and one is to be able to keep his chin up. And even when he's stopping his legs at the top of his route, keep his arms moving so it gives the appearance as if he's still running. It creates a perception to the defensive back that you're going to keep running compared to stopping. And seeing him continue to do that at this stage of his career, something I taught him when he was 17 years old, that right there is exciting to me, because being good at wide receiver is a lot of fundamentals. And Amari has been very, very good at those. That's why he was very good at Alabama. He was a mature route runner. Now, once he's gotten to the pros, he lost his confidence, started dropping the football on easy catches, so I believe that can come back to him. But as a fundamental route runner, he's one of the most mature wide receivers that I had seen and had worked with, and I believe that he should get that back there in Dallas with the wide receiver coach, Sanji Lau, who I have a lot of confidence, used to coach with the Jets here.
My takeaway was not what we saw on video, it was what we heard. I realized I'd never heard the guy speak. I didn't even know what Amari Cooper sounded like. Like, when I saw it, I was like, oh, wow. Like, I should have realized that because we've been talking about him all week. Yeah. But you've talked about how soft-spoken he is, how he's a different type of personality than a lot of the star wide receivers in the league. You've also said how he can line up in all three spots on the field, the X, the Y, or in the slot. And he's been very productive in the slot. I would imagine with Dallas, he won't be in the slot very often because the one productive wide receiver they have right now is Cole Beasley, and that's the only place they can line him up in, right? Like, they can't put Cole Beasley on the outside ever. So Amari.
And it's a harder spot to learn in the offense. What the Dallas Cowboys should be trying to do right now is add more speed and punch to their offense. Michael Gallup, the high draft pick that they drafted this year, has had a couple of the big plays. He had to stop and go in Washington. Him and Amari should play outside. Cole Beasley has established himself as a dependable slot receiver, and that should be their number one formation that they should try to play out of, because what it will do is put more speed on the field. Amari Cooper, he is a good route runner, but the speed of him and Gallup out there, I believe it puts more threat into the defense, and I believe that big-time passing game down the field with that power running game, I believe they could be married together. That's the most effective way, I believe, for the Dallas Cowboys to be able to move forward offensively.
Looking at this Cowboys offense, adding Amari Cooper's speed and punch like you talked about, how much better could they really be? How much of a difference can just adding a little bit of speed to your offense really make?
Right now, when you watch Dallas, Jenna, they don't get any easy yards. They don't get, because coach designed plays. Like, he might design an outside zone play. It's designed maybe to get 4 to 6 yards. But when you have a special running back like Zeke, he makes someone miss, and you get all these yards that the coaches, they don't have in the game plan. When will they get that? When will they have a short screen to someone and they run off with it? They had a big screen to Zeke earlier in the season, but they don't get a lot of that stuff. They have to work hard. Scott Lanahan and Jason Garrett, they have to work hard to get every yard that they can get. If they can get some stuff that's easy, if they can diagram some play action pass where they send 2 guys deep down the field, pick a guy and let it fly. That's what Dan Marino said. Championships, we ain't winning if I'm not slinging. So that's what I believe that Dak, he has to be able to grow the deep passing game to be able to go with the physical running attack that they
When you said the formation that they should be in the majority of the time, I think it's the formation that last year or 2 years ago under McAdoo, the Giants ran almost every single time, which is 3 wide. So you're talking about Amari as the X, Gallup as the Y, Beasley in the slot, 1 tight end, and Zeke in the backfield, right?
Yes.
And the reason that I think that actually could be if Dak can just regain a little bit of what we know he had his rookie season, it can take this offense from moribund, from bottom 5 in the league, to just league average, which is all the offense has to be, is league average with the way their defense plays. Because you don't have a great defense to play against them. Because if you do just say, we're going to stop Zeke, we're going to make you prove it to us, you have a very good route runner in Beasley who can run those option routes, and you have a guy in Cooper that I believe, even though the last year and a half he has not been productive, can beat single coverage. I think he has been facing fronts and defenses that when they play the Raiders, they say, we don't want Derek Carr and Cooper and Crabtree when he was there to beat us. They weren't so worried about the Raiders' running game. And if if just at a few times a game, defenses say, all right, you know what, we're more worried about 19, we're more worried about the passing game, that's when Zeke can kill you. Because Zeke is great at shedding that first tackler. And if the reason that when he's held down, it's not necessarily because he gets tackled on first contact. It's because after that first contact, there's so many people around him that they swarm to him. If you only have 6 guys in the box, even just 7 guys in the box, if you can make that first guy miss or shed that first tackler, that can be an explosive run play, because that's what's been killing Dallas, a lack of explosive
The one
plays.
thing the organization's got to do, because Amari is a soft-spoken guy, you have to build to cater. Now, he's not Dez Bryant. Dez Bryant's doing a lot of interviews, doing a lot of commercials, doing a lot of things. He's not that way. The reason why Amari thrived at Alabama, because he thrived in that culture. Nick Saban took care of all the outside noise. Amari didn't have to do a lot of interviews. You didn't hear a lot of stuff about him. So he thrived as a very quiet person because Nick Saban knew that. That's the reason why you haven't heard him too many in sound bites and things like that. The Dallas Cowboys need to realize he's not the last number 19 they had, Keyshawn Johnson.
Oh, yeah.
He's not Terrell Owens. He's not Michael Irvin. Don't try to make him into those guys. Let him be himself. I think he can thrive there in Dallas.
Cowboys have a bye this week. I guess Amari and Dak Prescott will spend some of that time building chemistry, working on timing and all of it. But how soon before we see him completely in the fold in this Cowboys offense?
We got to play him next week, Jenna. I mean, they're in a crisis. They got to play him. You can trade the first-round pick for him. Jerry wants the team and to see his fans that, yes, it was valuable. And I just believe you can do a lot of things with the wide receiver. 2 weeks in training. He's coming off a concussion in London. He was off last week, but he was back on the field with the Raiders practicing. He's back on the field with the Cowboys practicing. Yes, I need to see him 30 to 40 plays in that first game, and let's call it and run it. I don't care what the coverage is. Amari, beat your guy. That's what we have to be able to do, especially for the first couple weeks until we get him acclimated until a larger portion of the offense.
All right, let's take a break. Coming up, can the Texans build on their 4-game win streak tonight against the Dolphins? A little Thursday Night Football preview next on First Things First. Back here, First Things First, we're joined by former Super Bowl champ Greg Jennings. Good morning, Greg.
Good morning.
Nice to see you. Good to have you here. All right, Greg, it's Thursday, which means 2 things. 1, it is almost Friday. And 2, we got some football on Fox tonight. 4-3 Dolphins taking on the AFC South's first-place team, the 4-3 Texans. Miami will trot out a familiar face in Brock Osweiler, who used to be the Texans quarterback. Meanwhile, don't look now, but the Texans are quietly riding a 4-game win streak. See, I'll start with you on this one. What do Deshaun Watson and the Texans need to do to keep this train moving along?
Man, they do have momentum. You don't want to be able to lose it. And especially, I just believe when you have a player like Brock Osweiler who has that type of history with that team, as a defense, I just believe Jadeveon Clowney, J.J. Watt and them, they would take it upon themselves to be like, today is not going to be a good day for Brock Osweiler. I mean, the Texans went out. He was going to change their franchise. Now, Jenna, they didn't do the thing that Fox did with you. They did several interviews with you. And I told them on the first couple, y'all need to hire. But no, they were going about doing their own business.
They're like, there's got to be somebody else. There must be someone else.
So they really think they know what they were doing and everything. So I just let them go about their business. Now, the Texans, Jenna, they gave Brock Osweiler this money without even talking to him in person. They talked to him over the phone. Agreed in principle, didn't even do a thorough examination and everything.
They're like, are you good? He's like, yeah. They're like,
yeah,
okay, we'll
the same way that I tried to hire you and everything. I said, yeah, Jenna's good. Let's go do this. But they went about it. It took us to get there. But Brock Osweiler, him having a good day coming back against the Texans, oh, man, I think that would be devastating, not only to the organization, not only to the momentum they've created, but to their head coach. And Bill O'Brien, let's not forget. I mean, this guy's not out of the woods now, man. I mean, I know they have momentum, but, man, what he has done from an offensive standpoint, to me, I still question. You know, is he that guy for the Texans and Deshaun Watson? Oh, I know Deshaun Watson is the future of the Texans, but is Bill O'Brien? Because one of his mistakes, he's getting ready to play against some very injured Dolphins team. It would be devastating if the Texans were to lose this game, Greg, to an injured Fins team coming there on a Thursday night.
That's it right there. The Dolphins have so many injuries on offense specifically, and when you look at the Texans, where they're strongest is on the defensive side going up against that Dolphins offense. You got Kenny Stills out. You got Albert Wilson out. You got Ryan Tannehill out. It's a short week. all the momentum should be on and with the Houston Texans. And to your point that you made, which was an interesting point, Brock Osweiler, when you have a guy who's been in your locker room who did not get it done, players know that. Coaches know that. The coaches are a little disturbed. I'll use that word gently. They're disturbed at what you did not provide, and because they stuck their neck out for you and you didn't provide something.
Which means what? You go after that a
You
little
go after
harder?
that guy. You
Okay.
paid him like you said.
You had to trade away a second-round pick to get rid of him. You gave him $36 million guaranteed, and then you traded a second-round pick to get him out of the building.
But that changes the way you game plan against him?
No, it's not so much that you change the way you game plan against them. You talk about these things, and guys understand, look, we're not letting this guy beat us. And Brock Osweiler, in his defense, he's been playing pretty good. He hasn't been playing poorly. So I think they'll get after Brock Osweiler, and it'll be a long night for the Miami Dolphins.
As Greg talked about, Brock Osweiler and Adam Case, you got to give him a lot of credit.
Yes.
Brock's playing the best football in this relief duty of Tannehill of his career. So it's one of those kind of things, Jenna, that you and I, we've been in the business long enough. You know, these two little young bucks and everything. This is the first real big company that they work with, Greg playing football. And, of course, Nick out there just making his way, making his way through life. But what you would like to show, Jenna, people that you potentially work for and everything is that they didn't have confidence in you and that you were more fit for the job. I know you and I, we come to work with a little edge on us because of things we've experienced in the past. I believe that Brock takes the field with that same chip that, man, I'd like to be able to prove something to this organization.
A lot of laundry coming out.
Well, the reason why he takes the field like that is because when you look at the history of he and Adam Gase drafted him out in Denver.
Yes.
So they have the relationship. There's a trust. There's something that he saw in Brock Osweiler coming out of the draft into Denver that he was in agreement with.
The only decent football Brock's ever played in his career has been under Adam Gase.
Absolutely.
The temporary stint in Denver, replacing Peyton Manning, and now these two games, because he was terrible. I was in Houston. Houston, I was making my way in the world. I was in Houston when he was the quarterback there. And there is some, I don't want to say hurt feelings because it's pro sports, but he wasn't a good teammate. I'm going to tell you this. He was not a good teammate. He threw guys under the bus. He was Bill O'Brien, who always tries to, almost to a fault, before he got to Deshaun Watson, make excuses for his quarterback, would always try to pick up Brock, and Brock would not return the favor. So there is an extra chip on the Texans' shoulder in this game. On the Texans side of things, though, this is the most fraudulent four-game winning streak in the history, not of the NFL, of sports. Of any team in...
I mean, they won 20 in a row. No, they won 4.
No, listen. Okay, I just want the audience to know how they got this four-game winning streak. Because here's how their season started. Lost to New England, lost to Tennessee with Blaine Gabbert as their quarterback, lost to the New York Giants. That's their only win of the year. That's how their first 3 weeks started. Now, since then, here's what they did. They beat Indy in overtime. That was the Frank Wright go-for-it-on fourth down game. The Texans punted the ball in overtime with 90 seconds left and won that game. The next week...
So they didn't win, they just didn't lose.
The next week, they beat Dallas in overtime. That was the Jason Garrett fourth down. I'm going to punt it at the opponent's 42-yard line. Trust my defense. Lost that way. The next week, they beat Buffalo on the Peterman pick six. They needed the Peterman pick six because it was 13-13 at home against Nate Peterman and Buffalo with 2 minutes left. And then last week they played well. They forced Blake Bortles and the Jags beat them 20-7. The defense crushed Blake Bortles. They benched him. But the point is, those 3 wins prior to last week, they all could have been losses and horrible losses. Losses to a Colts team that's not any good. Lost to Nate Peterman and the Buffalo Bills. So, I know they've won 4 in a row. This is not a good football team. What's in the Texans' favor is they're in a good football team in that division. The Titans are figuring out who they are. The Jags, there's going to be a mutiny against the quarterback. The Colts can't give Andrew Luck support. So I think the Texans will win tonight, but I saw they were 7.5-point favorites. They don't deserve to be more than touchdown favorites over anybody. And this team lost to the Giants now. They lost to the New York Giants, who are now trading away their team. So this game should be a close game this evening.
You like the Texans. What do you want to see tonight?
I want to see Deshaun Watson come back to that form that we saw last year when he was playing and he was healthy. I think if he can do that, if they can keep him standing upright, if he doesn't have to take the hits, get down when he does break the pocket and extend the plays and hit his guys, DeAndre Hopkins, Will Fuller, and all these pieces that he have, I think they will start to – these wins that you're talking about won't be fraudulent. And there's no such thing as a fraudulent win in the NFL.
Okay.
I believe the defense of the Dolphins tried to get after Deshaun. That offensive line, not good, as Nick said. You know, they're frauds, too, that offensive line. So they're going to try to change this game with turnovers and put pressure on Watson.
Bill O'Brien said after last week's game, I think the hardest thing to do in sports is win a game in the NFL. It's a miracle half the teams every Sunday do it. I don't know how it happens. It's the hardest thing to do in sports, yet every year happens 256 times. It's crazy.
Greg, stick around. Coming up, is there about to be a Raiders revolt against John Gruden? That's next on First Things First. Tomorrow night on Fox, the World Series shifts to L.A. for Game 3. Mookie Betts and the Red Sox take on Manny Machado and the Dodgers. It is all tomorrow at 7:30 Eastern on Fox and the Fox Sports app. Dodgers are getting back into this. We're going 7.
Go ahead, Nick Rome. Tell us what's going to happen.
Man, I picked Dodgers in 6. For the Dodgers to win in 6, how many games they got to lose, see? 2. So far, I'm not wrong yet. Eat it. Eat it.
Let me just share with the audience. Forget John Gruden. This clown just told Jenna I'm always right.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. What about
I
the
didn't say
Dodgers?
I'm always right. I said, of course I'm right.
See, you and I are on a right here.
I'm great on facts.
Here.
It's predictions I struggle with at times. There's
Back
a difference.
here with Greg
First
Jennings.
things first,
Sorry, Greg, you
revolt
have to be
against
part of
Nick
our
Wright. Forget the Raiders revolt. First
our
things first revolt.
functional family. We're talking the fire sale that is the Oakland Raiders. 6 games into Gruden's 10-year contract, $100 million contract. I just like to keep saying it. He is already cleaning house after shipping former Defensive Player of the Year Khalil Mack to the Bears. He now moved former first-round pick Amari Cooper to the Cowboys. And according to reports, players in the Oakland locker room are not happy. Gruden trying to explain his moves to the media yesterday.
But the players I talk to get it. Certainly, they get it. And they also know that every day is a new day. And sometimes the plans that you have aren't the plans that you think are going to be executed. Things come up, opportunities arise, and I think they understand, but you'd have to ask them. Today, I don't see us making any more trades. Certainly, I don't see us trading our quarterback.
Okay, it's hard to firmly believe everything Gruden is saying at this point since he has made a number of interesting decisions. See, do the Raiders player have a right to be upset with the way Gruden's handled the housekeeping on this team so far?
Of course it is. I mean, NFL players expect life expectancy 3.4 years. This is the oldest team in the NFL. Now, you don't put the oldest team on the field unless you think we're going to win right now. So if you're a veteran player and then now you're 2 months into the season, you're like, man, Khalil Mack's not here. Amari Cooper's not here. And the coach, they always try to say, I'll never lie to you. I'll never deceive you. Hey, John Gruden, you need to get that back into coaching. That's one of the things, that's one of the hallmarks of a coach, that you can trust him. He's going to do what is best for you as far as your career, what's best for the team, and he's going to develop your talent. I tell my kids all around the country, when you go to that building, Amari Cooper, all of them, I want you to submit your talent to that coach. But now you got a coach, you don't know if he has what's best interest of the players in mind. You know he doesn't, because you don't let Khalil Mack out. You don't let these guys that have sterling personalities, no character problems. We thought the Rams was going to have problems. We're stupid. Listen, we need as many dysfunctional guys as possible to put a football team, let alone guys who have stellar character. Khalil Mack, what about him? He's a great player. He's a great person on and off the field. Oh, okay. Amari Cooper, he's a great person. Hadn't lived up to his potential, but did make 2 of 4 Pro Bowls since he's been in the league. So, man, being truthful with people, being authentic with people, that's going to be John Gruden's problem. I didn't want to say anything, but I know guys that played for Gruden, and that was one of the problems when he last played. Now, when you're on TV, you can't see authenticity. People can lie to you, and it's a lot of people on TV doing it. I watch games with Nick. Nick, look at me. I say, he's lying. He just made that up. And being a football coach is totally different, Greg. Greg, you call games. You know it. What he's doing in the interaction and the trust with human beings, that part right now, John Gruden has failed at.
That's 100%. You just preach. That is it. There is no trust in that locker room when it comes to John Gruden and those players. We can't trust you. I don't trust anything that comes out of your mouth right now. Because when he traded Khalil Mack, do we all remember what he said? Mm-hmm. Oh, he didn't want to be here. Obviously, he didn't want to be here. What? What? Mm-hmm. Since when does a player hold out, not really want to be? No, they just want to get paid. They just want to get their value, what they feel like their worth is. The same with him as a head coach. So when I look at this situation, you're the oldest team in the NFL.
Right.
You're trading away not just young players, but cornerstones of your team.
Right.
Like, what are you doing? So, and then he says, I don't see us trading any more players. I definitely don't see us trading our quarterback. I don't even believe that.
Well, there are players in that locker room that have said and didn't want to be on record, hey, we thought some of us were going to be traded next year. Now we think, hey, we could be traded next week. You just have no idea at this point.
Listen, he clearly misled. I'm going to give you some names. Jordy Nelson, Jared Cook, Frosty Rucker, Reggie Nelson, Leon Hall, Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie. These are all veterans that had options that signed with the Raiders this offseason. They didn't sign up to be in no damn rebuild like this.
No.
They bought into the hype that here's one weird thing when this show talks about Gruden and the Raiders. It might color your perspective and the audience's perspective of what the general opinion of this team was going to be this year. Because I was down on Derek Carr, C was down on Gruden to a degree, so we had tempered expectations. But when he got hired, what did Vegas say their win total would be? What did the public say they could do in the AFC West? What did my friends in Kansas City do? Call me saying, oh, man, the Raiders going to be good again. Another team. It was beyond the pale as far as expectations for this team to be the worst team in football this year. Nobody had that on the board. Even this show that was skeptical of him. And so to have totally ripped it down to the studs this quickly, when that could not have been what you were selling, those veteran names I just told you, it also leads me to believe Gruden didn't even expect to do this. That's the problem with his offseason, not just commentary. You can lie in your comments. You can't lie in the draft, and you can't lie in your signings. And when you go out and actively make yourself the oldest team in the league, you are sending a signal, we think we can win right now. So that was an immediate miscalculation. And the other problem, if you're a Raider fan, even if you buy into, all right, 5 first-round picks over the next 2 years, maybe you don't like Derek Carr either, might get another first-round pick for him. Look at Gruden's track record in Tampa when he got personnel control about who he drafted, how successful those picks were. Because it's one thing to have draft picks. It's another thing to draft Khalil Mack with them. It's another thing to draft the right people with them.
You don't think this is what John Gruden wanted all along, that this was part of the plan?
Not all along. I think it became the plan.
When did you think that changed and why?
I think
them losses. Once they started losing will bring out something.
But Khalil Mack was on the table before they even started.
I understand. The Khalil Mack thing was just John Gruden being stubborn and rebellious. It's like he wanted to put his foot down and show who was in charge. Like, this is a new sheriff in charge. And it's just not the way you can do things. With a player like that,
to me, I believe John Gruden was disingenuous from the beginning. I believe he didn't have intentions to sign Khalil Mack. I believe that John Gruden wants to be the only star in Oakland. And anyone that approaches that, even being a quarterback, is going to be a problem. I believe they're going to have a problem with John Gruden. If John Gruden had a 3-year contract, they'd be talking about firing him right now. But the Raiders, they signed him to one of the most ridiculous contracts in the history of sports. And there's a saying, you stuck like Chuck? Man, the Raiders are stuck with John Gruden.
You did this to yourself.
Greg, I know you're a family man. When you're not here, you're in Minneapolis, so you don't spend a lot of time in Vegas, I would imagine. But if you did, and you went to Vegas, and you see those Raider billboards, who do you think's on them? It's Gruden. They ain't got no players left to put on. Like, they're marketing them as Gruden. And the point of him wanting to be the only star and the contract, I think those are all good points. I also think you also have to remember, how did his tenure end as far as why did he get a 10-year contract? Well, Al Davis fired him. Mark Davis, the son, who then wants to strike out on his own, not just be the son of one of the most important owners in sports history with a goofy haircut. He wants to be his own man. You know what? I'm going to sign this guy that my dad fired to a record-breaking contract and bring us back to the glory that he couldn't under my dad. Got us close, but couldn't. And now when you empower a guy like that, who I think has the ego that not only being a think about the ego trip of being a star head football coach. Every year, people are like, oh, could we get Gruden? Could we get Gruden? And the ego nurturing that being on TV gives you. All those things come together, and then you get empowered with the best coaching contract in football history. You might think you can do just about anything. But they're the worst team in football. Which is impossible, but it's true.
Thank you for listening to the First Things First podcast. Remember, leave us a review and tell us what you think. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts and catch us on FS1 Monday through Friday, 6:30 a.m. Eastern. For Cris Carter and Nick Wright, I'm Jenna Wolfe. So long, everybody.